It's episode number 29. Oh my God.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Hi and
The
hello.
connection may go in and out because we are definitely having one of those mornings, but it's okay.
We did this before with technical issues, didn't we? With our first chats, I think.
Do not put that out anymore, Charlie.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Hey,
All right.
we're live now.
We're live now. I'm just going to switch over to a different. There we go.
Okay.
Hey, hi Claire.
Hi
Hi,
Charlie
Claire.
as well.
Hi Charlie.
Hey,
all right.
Claire. Oh, yeah, I didn't notice the chat then.
So thank you. We have had a few technical issues. That's down to me and whatever. Anyway, we're on episode 29 and we're talking about my superpower is
Autism.
autism. Joined today by the lovely Charlie Moorhouse.
Oh,
We've been looking forward to this, haven't we, Ange?
Yeah. very
Yes.
much so.
Yeah. So we
Very
both
much.
know Charlie in different realms
Yes.
of the Inner Power podcast universe.
You could say that.
Let's say
A
that.
little bit.
And today, I guess, well, I'm excited because I've interviewed a couple of times and
Yeah.
I've learned so much. It's a couple of nuggets you're going to get from today. So please, as always, drop a share, a
Yeah.
comment, all good. Can't get a staff. You're right, Claire. I've used all my brain power up.
Andrea, topic close to my heart. Well, okay then.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you. So yeah, if you feel like today's could be a benefit for you or anyone watching, then please share, drop a comment in. Charlie has so much wisdom to share about his life and things we went through.
You're making me nervous now.
I know, I can tell. I'm sorry. I'm going to shut up a bit. But yeah, I just little things I just picked up, and I think it was like something you said before, but we'll come on to it in a bit. So,
Yeah.
Charlie, introduce yourself.
Okay. I don't know how to really. I didn't really have a script for this, so I'll just
You don't need
ramble.
one. You don't need one.
No. Right. So, hi, I am Charlie Moorhouse. I am 24 years old. I have, well, as you all know, autism. I currently have a part-time job working with currency, and I do martial arts run by lovely Matt here. And
I don't teach it no more. I've got to make that very clear.
okay.
I teach the team.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. I should. Here we go. Autism.
That's my
right.
fault. My fault.
That's
my
right.
fault.
So I do martial arts on the part time, and then I do a little bit of dancing with Ange at the on the other end of the spectrum as well. So, and my hobbies include fitness, dancing, overthinking, and breathing. That is a hobby of mine, which is why my second hobby is breathing, to knock that overthinking down a bit. So
You
that's
mentioned
it.
Wim Hof before we came on, didn't you?
Yes.
Go on, Ange.
So that was something what I said that we're probably gonna mention as
Yes.
one
Yeah.
of the great techniques just to help
Yes.
calm the mind down, and you are living proof that it's really working.
Absolutely.
Right. So
Yeah.
so we're definitely gonna touch on that.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
think it's gonna be worth sharing with people, because it's such a non-expensive technique. You can use
No.
it everywhere.
You
and-
can literally go on YouTube right now and literally just type in Wim Hof breathing method, and you've got literally like beginners round, intermediate, advanced rounds. You can do 1, 2, 3. It goes up to 4 rounds of breathing, and obviously they like to. Sorry, Matt.
Sorry, Charlie, I got into it. Or instead of going on YouTube, because I got to tag you back in on Facebook.
Yeah,
you have to do it yourself. They could just look up one of the videos you did last year or the year before.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
Follow Charlie. He's got some great videos. You're dropping quite a few. Anyway, go on. Sorry, carry on. I interrupt you.
Now, what I was going to say was obviously the breathing technique. It's always about holding your breath, which is quite nice. So I'm going to hold my breath for 3 minutes, but not to brag. But the breathing, if anything, it controls my brain. It should, because the amount of times I like to say I had an off switch for this brain, but and the Wim Hof breathing method is the closest thing I can get to it. Like sleeping's improved, anxiety's gone down, just in general. Like the amount of times I thought my brain was going to burst out my head, and then just literally a couple rounds of breathing and bang, there you go. It's like the first time I actually did the breathing and my mind just felt empty and at peace. It was like the second coming. I was like, wait, it actually worked. Like this couple minutes of breathing has shut my brain down and I feel at peace. My mind feels empty. I wish I discovered the breathing ages ago. Honestly, it's so useful. So yeah.
So help us out a bit, and those listening and watching.
Yeah.
Where did your journey begin? So what happened when you're younger?
Right. Okay. I
talk
will.
about that so people can kind of put it into context a little bit, like how much you've kind of the journey been.
Right. I will try and condense this because this is like a kind of a 24-year process condensed into like a 1-hour podcast. So I'll try and my best. So basically, my journey started when I was about I can't put a specific age on it, but basically I went to nursery like any other kid.
Yeah.
But the teachers noticed that I was not acting like the same, or I wasn't blending in with the other kids because all the other kids were in the sandpits and at nursery playing with toys, trucks, usual stuff kids do. But I was like being a bit distant from them. I was like hiding in the tables, just like being isolated from them, just being in my own head a little bit. So that got the teachers thinking, because even they could tell, well, why is Charlie like this? There was clearly something there that was piquing their interest. So of course they had to tell my mum. So after the initial interest of why is Charlie acting differently than the other kids, is where the diagnosis process came from. So after that, my mum got in touch with a whole bunch of psychiatrists, basically, and it was just a couple-year process of going through several practitioners and psychiatrists. I think the total was about 7, I think, different people, each with their own analogy. So basically, yeah. So basically, lecturers were judging me on how I and so I love to bring up this example because my mum can back me up on this, who's probably going to watch this. Basically, there was this one lady, this one psychiatrist, who even said, Charlie will never live by himself. He cannot eat by himself. He will never be able to provide for himself, be independent. And, well, I'm doing a podcast right now talking about my autism. So that's kind of flipped it on its head. But basically, so yeah, so after a bunch of psychiatrists evaluated me, we finally arrived on the definition or the conclusion of, yes, Charlie has Asperger's, which at the time was a lower form of autism, but now we just call it autism. So yeah, Charlie has a lower form of autism, meaning that this is why I come on to the definition of autism now. So autism is a condition that you're born with where it affects your brain with how it processes information. That is the most general definition I can give about autism because, as you'll probably discuss in a bit, autism and the autism spectrum affects people in such a different way. So my case won't be the same as other people who are on the higher end. But yeah, so yeah, Charlie has autism where his brain doesn't have problem processing information. It processes information differently. So after the initial diagnosis, then came the very difficult job of my mum to learn about everything autism, because back at the time she didn't know what it was, and being a single parent as well, because my parents split when I was young. But basically, it was all after diagnosis, it all came down to her pretty much. So she had to go to a bunch of talks, sessions. She had to go to different people who have studied autism, and eventually she came across this one person. Now, I know you see I have a lot of wisdom, but I'm just someone who's been through the process. So if I can point you to someone who's actually a professional in this topic, Tony Atwood, because he is a famous Australian psychiatrist who's done a bunch of research of autism. And he came to UK one time because my mum had been to a bunch of talks, but it wasn't until that he came to UK and did a talk about autism. My mum literally said to me, it was as if he was talking about Charlie, word for word. And that literally put the light bulb on. And the second blessing my mum had was the fact that we moved into this house, and then we have this neighbor called Helen, and her son Jack also has autism as well, and he's on the higher end, so he needs a little bit more support. So my mum and Helen got talking, and then of course they both brought up the fact that their sons have autism, and basically what got lucky for my mum was the fact that Helen was a trustee for a local charity for Forest Pulse, which is a corporation that specifically does meetups for and does get-togethers for people with different neuro conditions such as ADHD, Down syndrome, that's etc. etc. So having Helen be this like kind of mentor figure to my mum, kind of like it helps my mum really not feel alone a little bit. So having Helen there, and now the Tony Atwood discussion under her belt was definitely useful for her. So I know I've just talked a lot about my mum and not me, but that was literally how it was from getting diagnosed to how we had to learn about it. In terms of me, I don't have very clear memories of my childhood because I was too young back then. So I can only go off memories of what other people have told about me, such as my family. But while I do not remember my young years, like what I used to be like as a child at home, I do remember school a lot. That is the one thing I will always attribute a lot to my autism at its peak, because I struggled walking into classroom if I knew that this teacher was going to shout, or I was going to be in a classroom with these kids who I knew would act up, who had behavior problems, which made the teacher shout. And for a good 5 years at secondary school, my because I didn't know I had autism. I wasn't thinking about that at that age. All I could think about in secondary school was just fingers in ears, closing my eyes and blocking the world out because I couldn't deal with it. And yeah, just the whole secondary school deal, just it wasn't good for my anxiety and just my mental health in general. So yeah, but okay, the one thing I want to give a shout out to the most, because I have huge respect, because as an adult looking back at what I used to be like when I was a child, I have a huge respect for parents and teaching staff and teaching assistants who have to work with these kids who have different abilities and the challenges that comes with them. Because I've got to give a shout out to my personal dedicated teaching assistant, Gemma, who was there with me from day one of secondary school. And she was literally, whilst my mum was my rock at home, Gemma was my rock in secondary school, being the most patient person when I was having my anxiety attacks in class, when I struggled to get through the front door of a class as well, when I wanted to take my work elsewhere to like the special building for people just like me. You know, like it's weird thinking about how much it's weird thinking now how much patience like a teaching assistant has to be when they're dealing with a child, or just any person who has to work with not just a child but any person with a neuro disability, the challenges that they have to deal with. But as you'll find out, the rewards more than make up for it. So I have huge respect for parents who haven't been offered support, who are new to the condition and don't know a lot. Because I've seen countless videos where parents are like trying to just get their children to like their granddad's house, which is like only around the corner, and the child's having nothing to do with it. And the parents are going, well, no one's come up to us to ask us how, you know, to tell us what to do. So I have a huge respect for parents who are just learning about this condition, and teaching assistants, you have to work with it as well. But the one thing I like to emphasize the most is the rewarding aspects of working with these disabilities is so worth it. So that's my little tangent. So to kind of wrap it up a little bit, I finished secondary school. I did 3 years of public services at college, and that kickstarted my passion for fitness a little bit because there was a lot of fitness focused. And then I did 4 years at university studying policing, and that's when I met and that's where really I started to kind of think about my independence, look a bit more about myself. So 4 years of university later, I graduated in September. I think it was September or November. I can't remember the exact month because it's gone by in a blur. So yeah, 4 years of university, graduated my policing course with a Bachelor of Science, BSc Policing. And in those 4 years, I took up martial arts for the first time because I was still into my fitness, but I also knew martial arts required a little bit of discipline. And at the time, I knew that martial arts, at the time, I could feel my brain starting to kick into overdrive at the time. So I knew martial arts helped me discipline myself. And also during those 4 years, I started dancing for the first time. And now I do salsa, a bit of bachata on the side for a bit of fun, just for a bit of social, just to let my hair down, just for a de-stress. And yeah, that's it really. So 4 years later, I am now a black belt and a little bit good at dancing, I want to say. I'm not a professional by any means.
Better than me, so
little bit.
I don't salsa, so
yeah.
Well, I really enjoy dancing with you. That's my
right.
experience.
We're having a bit of connection issue, so just bear with me. Someone rang my phone and so just hold the line, everyone. Give me a second.
Elizabeth Powell.
Don't go anywhere.
Hang on.
Okay, how's that, everyone? We back? Sorry about that. Let us know what the connection's like. Give me a thumbs
Andrea,
up for yes.
Awesome, you're an inspiration. Oh, thanks, Andrea.
Right, there was a question here from Nigel.
What are some? Oh, hang on.
There we go.
What are some of the things that people might be surprised about autism? Oh, okay, good question. Right. You'll be surprised to know that some of them are actually very gifted. Because I've done a whole topic and research, and just seeing firsthand about how skilled they are in certain aspects. Even, let's say, my final dissertation at university, and for you who don't know, a dissertation is pretty much your final magnum opus essay at university to wrap up your education, kind of. And I chose my dissertation on how do I phrase it? Specific skills that can be useful in certain workspaces. So let's say autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, you would be surprised that a lot of employers and corporations have a lot of people with different disabilities. So it can be organization, problem solving, timekeeping, even some games companies have autistic people, or even stuff like GCHQ has specifically advertised that they want autistic people because they know how their brains work and how they're good at processing data. So I hope that answers your question. What people might be surprised by autism, but I think
it's benefits.
Yeah,
and if you get in the right environment, I think we've tried it here.
Yeah.
I think you cope quite well with you've learned to cope with the busyness and the noise, but I think it's understanding that.
I know we talk about autism a lot, but I always like to, because I have autism, but I always like to emphasize just disabilities in general, not just autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD. They all have their surprise and strengths, let's say. And the number one thing is, I always like to highlight the positive aspects of these disabilities, because it's never like obviously it has its challenges, but I always like to really emphasize the rewarding aspects more than anything when it comes to working with these disabilities. So I hope that answers your question, Nigel. You'd be surprised. Just go up to anyone who has a disability and get them talking about what they like. You know, I know people who like just trains, photography, stamps, even certain currencies. Like once you get someone talking about what they like and seeing their face light up, the knowledge that some people have, because I know a friend who comes into my branch every now and then for work. His knowledge of currency is amazing. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Nigel.
Well, someone else has chipped in here. This is pretty cool. So for me, as an ASPE, data processing and analyzing is pretty good.
For me,
yeah.
ASPE, data processing. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is.
Just
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
There's some more I wanted. There was some. Thank you so much for the comments, considering the connection's been a bit in and out.
Yeah.
I think we've had some great. Got any questions for Charlie?
I want to read this one from Andrea. Hang on one second.
That's right.
Charlie, did you want to do that breathing exercise, or did someone encourage you to try and find it? Sounds great, but getting an autistic youth. Okay, fine.
So talking about the Wim Hof. If you just joined us, by the way, sorry, Charlie.
Right, okay.
Charlie, you do a lot of Wim Hof.
Yeah, so basically, I'll make this quick. So Wim Hof is he's a well-being health expert. Plus, he's got a lot of world records for like his ability to withstand cold temperatures. So he does a lot of talk about mental health, well-being. But he claims that anyone can do his Wim Hof breathing technique. So basically, I discovered the technique just because I watched a lot of YouTube, and then I just happened to find one of these videos that he was in, and then he and I just found his ability, you know, if you take the breathing exercises into account out of the equation, just how he is able to withstand cold temperatures is amazing. But then when he got talking about his breathing exercises in the video that I found, it was incredible, like just seeing him talk, because he does a lot of talking about how the breathing is good for him. So I just happened to stumble upon Wim Hof by happenstance. And when I saw him discussing the breathing technique, and I gave it a try for myself, and I said this earlier, because the autism I have now is different to the autism I have when I was younger. So now I do a lot. I overthink a lot. So the amount of times I thought my brain was going to burst out my head, it's true though. I can't help but put it that way. So like before I discovered the technique, my brain was just going 100 miles an hour, 24/7. So to find the breathing technique was so nice. Like the first time I felt my brain feel empty and at peace was such a relief. And there's not a day that goes by now when I haven't done it. So like if you're not used to it, if you want to give it a go, then you will have a tingly feeling in your like probably your head, your arms, and Wim Hof calls it getting higher on your own supply, because the idea is you're taking deep exhales and gentle exhales, so you're getting more oxygen into your brain and your body. And because of that, by doing it consecutively, your body will feel a bit tingly in a good way. So I encourage you to do it if you want to give it a go, because it's good for your body.
How did you find out? Did someone encourage you?
No. I literally
looked it out.
Literally found it by happenstance.
Yeah.
Literally, because I watched a lot of YouTube, and then there's this YouTube channel that I watch called Yes Theory, another good channel I recommend you watch.
Yes Theory.
Yeah. Because they do a lot of adventures about getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it's quite inspiring, the things they do with strangers, and they call it seeking discomfort. And they heard about Wim Hof, and so I saw the video of them going to see him, and like seeing how Wim took them through like different cold like temperature exercises, like a cold bath, river plunge, or cold river diving, and then finally like seeing them do the very advanced breathing in his home and how it affected them. I thought, wow, okay, like I don't want to take it to that extent, but I just want to do the breathing as a form of calming my brain down.
Yeah.
So after I watched the yesterday video where they went to Wim Hof, I purposely looked up just Wim Hof breathing, just a beginner's round, because he does beginner breathing when you want to do it for the first time, then it goes to like medium, and then finally advanced. So I gave a beginner's breathing a shot after watching the video, and yeah, absolutely loved it. So
Cool.
yeah.
We've got another one here. It's a bit of a long one. I'll read it out. So,
Okay.
So there was a lot of discussion about education. So
Yeah.
Charlie, if you get a chance later, if you wouldn't mind going back.
Yeah. We
won't
won't.
be a long shot. Otherwise.
Yeah.
But this one I thought.
After this, I'll probably go home and I'll probably read through all your comments. So
right, thank you.
Yeah.
So basically, this one, to keep it short. Thank you, Elizabeth. So did you have any problems with retaining information during lessons? If so, did you find any strategies? So what strategies have you learned?
Right.
Especially maybe at uni.
Did you have any problems retaining information? I'm going to interpret that as, did you have any problems taking in information at school then?
Yeah.
Learning, right.
Yeah, generally, I think.
Right, so basically...
or even, sorry, Charlie, even like where you was at uni or college, because you said it's kind of...
Right, yeah. Because I always like to say the autism, the condition that you have when you're younger is different to where you have. So my strategies for university as an adult was different when I was younger.
Yeah.
So as... in school, because that is what the question was about a little bit, I didn't really have any strategies because at that age, I wasn't thinking about myself. I was only thinking about the situation I was in and how to block it out.
Right.
So I didn't really have any strategies for like education because I had a special measures school, and by that I mean it had a lot of behavior problem kids.
Yeah.
So that's what so basically a lot of the studying and note-taking was done by my teaching assistants. So they were the ones taking all the notes and helping me out. So I guess the one strategy that we kind of did have was we had a special building, like as I mentioned earlier, where you could go to, where if the classroom was too stressful for me, I could take the work out and take it to that building for kids like me. So I didn't really have any strategies in lesson because most of it was done by my teaching assistants at the top of my... I think there were some lessons where if I knew okay, I'll put it this way. If I was going into a lesson where I knew the kids weren't going to act up, they didn't have any behavior issues, and the teacher I actually got along with, I would actively try to get involved in the lesson, and I would actually like note take and
so when the stress wasn't there,
when
it was easier.
Yeah. When the stress wasn't there, I actively, and especially if it was a lesson that I enjoyed, because we did a lot of engineering, practical stuff.
Oh, wow.
Like at my secondary school, like woodworks, metalworks, that sort of thing, and I actually like that, as well as PE as well a little bit. So if it was, because I'm more of a practical person, I wasn't interested in maths, English, science, that sort of thing. So so if it was a lesson that I enjoyed, I would actually take notes and get on with it. But yeah, if it was a lesson who I knew had, especially, supply teachers. I had a real stickler for supply teachers because they didn't have the classroom control, and they didn't have the rapport with the students like your
regular. Probably didn't have the knowledge on you, right?
A little bit, yeah. So if I knew I had a supply teacher, that raised it. And also, I don't know if any of the people at home might relate to this or their children, but I'm a lot better at it now. But I hated last-minute classroom changes or last-minute supply teacher changes. I just couldn't deal with it. It just drove me mad. So that's another example of me not taking it well.
What about when you sorry, Charlie, what about when you got to college, and how do you deal with it now?
Right, again, before I get onto that, I did mention I did see that Andrea mentioned something about bullies with her kids. I just wanted to mention, I personally didn't have any experience with bullies, but a little thought, even at that age, when I was going through the anxiety, a little thought that I used to tell myself is, the people who are disrupting the lesson, the children who are being rude to the teacher, who are actively not engaging in the lesson, they're the ones who 10 years from now will get the rubbish jobs, the rubbish lives. They'll not get what they want. They'll have a bad future because they did not, and they're going to regret not focusing in lessons and trying their best in school. Me, however, I will be in a better place because I actually want to try, and I'll be in a better place. So I don't know. I hope that's a little mindset. I hope that you can, if you know someone who's being bullied at school, whatever. I know it won't work for everyone, but that was a mindset that, even with the anxiety, that's the mindset I would have. The bullies will, or the bad children will, not have the good lives, not be successful. But I will be in a better place because I actually want to make it work. So yeah. So to come back to your question, Matt, about the college. So college is where we started to focus a little bit more on independence. And because it was a public service course, because at the time I wanted to do policing, it was more on fitness focus and independent studying. So we did have lessons, but it was more on, it kind of forced me to like do my more research and focus on my independent studying. And it kind of like wrapped up and neated up my writing a little bit. And because I wanted to do policing, there was a lot of like drill marching stuff that we did where we had to like be disciplined, and there was a lot of fitness focused as well. So that kick-started my love of fitness, which would transition to me joining martial arts a little bit. So my information taking in college was a lot more, let's say, focused then, because it was a lot more serious and a lot more disciplined and independent, because I had to do a lot of self-studying for myself for assessments. So I actively tried. And also, even in college, I had help as well. Like all throughout primary school, secondary school, college, I always had some form of teaching assistant or like education helper with me in lessons and revising and assessments. So that was also knowing that I could go to this special support center in the college was a big plus as well if I had any questions. And also having a dedicated computer room as well, away from the library, where I could do my own studying as well, was a big plus. And university times that by 100. So now we're at university where it's all about independent studying. You've got, 5,000 word assessments to do. You got this, where as well my organization started to be tested as well, because you've got, okay, I've got these assessments due on these dates, but these ones are these long, these ones are these long. So it helped my organization a little bit. And because as well, at the time I was provided a laptop where I could record lectures and do note taking on them as well. I could play the lectures back if I missed anything. So that was a big help. And yeah, 4 years of university was just literally going to the library, head down, so many hours in the library with my head exploding from the self-studying, so many hours, 11 till 5, literally every day, just diving into the computer, book reading for referencing and making sure this one's grammatically correct, this paragraph is structurally correct, have I referenced this paragraph, so university in a way helps me really work on my academic and my writing and my organization a little bit. So yeah, contrast that to secondary school where I didn't want to do anything except block the world out. Also, it helped. I was growing up a little bit as well with my autism at the same time. So that kind of helped as well.
So I'm curious, for example, when you became so aware of yourself, so that allowed you to deal with it, just completely different.
Yeah. When did it start, you mean?
I mean, when you started actually using those skills to your advantage.
To my advantage? Oof.
Like you said, when you were younger, that was different. And whereas now it's also completely different. And you can use it to your advantage. You're doing so many different things. The ability of your mind and how you can use it to your advantage. Where it started changing, when you started becoming more aware. Could you actually place it on the age?
I couldn't probably place. I could probably place it on a probably a time frame. Probably starting university. team maybe, because I wouldn't say, because at college I was still really focusing on my work. Like I think college kickstarted my love for fitness, and I still love it. But even college had its behavior problem kids. So that was one comparison I can make to college and secondary school, was they still had their the class I had still had its behavior problem kids, and the lecturers would have difficulties, like they would have to raise their voice and that sort of thing. So yeah,
I've seen you grow. I've seen you grow a lot from when you first joined here. And I think people around have seen it. So and obviously I know with different levels of the spectrum, I mean, being in a busy environment, and then you got people shouting here, really, and then you got your music downstairs. So
I think the reason why I like that was because it's authorized, a loud noise. And if you compare that into secondary school, in a classroom where you're not allowed to talk, when you're meant to be getting on with writing, or when the teacher's talking, that's what raised my anxiety a little bit. Because when I sensed the children starting to talk, I knew that's when the teachers would get loud. And obviously I knew they weren't directly shouting at me, but I still didn't like it regardless, because it was still an aggressive or like a very authoritative way to control the class. Because if the children started misbehaving, then because it was unauthorized noise, whereas in downstairs it's all allowed.
You know when it's back, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I can.
Sorry, like a few have come in with autism, and you can see. So I guess the routine, the discipline, and you know, Ange is like a K1 kickboxing champion. Like Ange puts the in ninja. That's how much she's gonna get what I'm about to say. So obviously, I watched you do your black belt exam, and that's that's an intense day. And you looked like, oh my god, Ange, you just on it.
I pretty much went into black belt with the mindset of go with do whatever they tell you, no matter how hard it's going to be. That was because I knew it was going to be.
You must have been freaking knackered after though. Oh my gosh, you really did go for it. And I can't imagine. I'm just curious, what was like the environment of that is out of your comfort zone completely. To have doubt with that, because I find
basically
that hard.
Right. What helped me was basically you've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You know, so this is where I'm going to spew a speech now about this. Here we go. So basically, because I watch a lot of shows where the characters push themselves, and basically, I know that. Also, I find it inspiring, like where you achieve a goal by pushing yourself through it. Like I like a success story where the person tries a million times, they get knocked down, but they keep getting back up and they achieve it. So for black belt, for me, I knew it was going to be not nice, to put it lightly. I knew it was going to be long. I knew there were going to be points where I was going to like dwindle a little bit, but
I don't think you did.
Well, I don't know. There were moments, there were some areas in the black belt where I struggled a little bit, but basically, I always like to think that you get what you want if you are able to push through the discomfort. Because as I mentioned with yesterday, their motto is seeking discomfort. And so basically, you've just got to be, if you want to achieve your goal, in my case, it was passing the black belt exam, you've got to be ready for the uncomfort. So you've got to be in the mindset of being comfortable being uncomfortable, and also knowing that you are going to get what you you're going to get what you want. You will get what you want if you push for it, because like good things don't come to people who just like wait for it. You know, if you just wait for your goals to come to you, then that's not really that's not inspiring, and B, that's just not really, you know. So for black belt, I was going for it, knowing that I will pushing it myself will get me that black belt. That's what it was. I was going to say something else then, but
we got banging going on of all the things, of all the daily banging and the internet to go.
Yeah.
Charlie being tested to the max.
It's fine.
Charlie, I just want to read this comment out because, but I know there's. Sorry, we got to catch up with a lot of comments on it.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's right.
Like I said, I'll read the comments later and I'll try and answer them as best I can.
But this this kind of twig was something you said to me before. So it's from Justin. Thank you, Justin. I love how you don't let it define you, the learning experience you have gone through, and now you're advocating for an amazing cause. Live your best life as you should. And this is what I think I said to you, Angela. And I said it again, I always learn from Charlie. And I think one of the first times I interviewed you and you said, this is part of my life now. And I make it part of my life, if that makes sense. In a positive way. Yeah, you do it in your words.
It's not a disease, put it that way. It's not a disease, it's a gift. Like, it's a part of you. So it's not a curse. It's something that's a part of you that just makes you different in a good way. And if I can use one crazy example of this, it's going to sound mad, but bear with me. Pokemon was created by an autistic person.
No way!
Yeah, you didn't know.
No, I didn't know that.
So
that's
basically,
awesome.
So this worldwide phenomenon called Pokemon, which celebrated its 35-year anniversary or something like that, like 2 years ago, which has 20, seasons of a TV show. It's got about 1 billion side games and all that. It was created by an autistic person called Satoshi Tajiri, Japanese name. Basically, he was diagnosed when he was young and he was obsessed with bugs. And basically, through his love of bugs, he got bullied, but, that's whatever. But basically, he had an obsession with bugs and studying them. And then one day he was walking down town in Japan, whatever. Then he saw, and of course, Japan is all about computers and games consoles back in the day. But basically, he saw these two children separately playing on their portable games consoles back then, and using his imagination only, he built an imaginary bridge between two games consoles and imagined a bug walking from one to another, and that inspired the trade system in Pokemon. So using that, he created the first two Pokemon games, Red and Blue, and he is now the CEO of the games company that makes the mainline Pokemon games. And look at where it is now. So if that is...
that's inspiring.
Yeah. So if that doesn't speak volumes, I don't know what will. So I always like to use, because it's a fun example of using your gifts to do something worthwhile. And there you go. So yeah. So yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh, brilliant. I'm just going for some of these questions. Did
you have any issues communicating with your teachers? Right. I think what happened is to answer that question, I can say my mum was doing a lot of communicating on my behalf because she could, because she had first-hand experience at home of what I was like. So from basically her experience, she was just providing as much feedback as possible onto the teaching assistants and the staff. In terms of myself, it was pretty easy for the teaching. I didn't really communicate much except for the fact that I don't like this, I want to go. But even then, with the anxiety, they could still tell that if I was struggling, they knew I wasn't coping. So I got on fine with my teaching assistants. How do I put that? In terms of just in the classroom, I didn't communicate much because, again, I was focusing on blocking the world out. But outside of the classroom, yeah, I did actually, if you take the anxiety and the problems out of it, I did get along fine with them. I did like talking to them. So, and I bonded well with them.
Yeah,
so.
It sounds like you had a really good support.
Honestly, huge shout out to the teaching assistants that I had, or any teaching assistant or teacher that has to work with or not just that, any support worker who has to work with, because it's not just kids, it's like, adults as well you get. I'm still shocked this day where I find a story where an adult is diagnosed at the age of 20 or whatever, because I think to myself, well, hang on, no one noticed when you were younger. It's crazy to me to think that people get diagnosed at the age of 30, for example. It happens, and it's crazy. So yeah.
Something I've noticed, Ange, with Charlie, he's very grateful, isn't he?
Yeah. I am.
I think we need a bit more gratitude in our lives. What do you reckon?
Absolutely. I always take
massive inspiration.
Yeah, massive inspiration.
One of the things that I wrote down is when you have kids that are diagnosed with this condition, exposing them to inspirational stuff.
Yes.
That help them see the positive outcome. Is even though they might not be actively listening to it, but if it's playing in the background, it always has impact on their mind, and maybe this is something what is planting the self-belief that they are actually worthy and they can achieve what they want. Because I do believe that what you said, you know, is beautiful. The awareness and all the effort that your mom did made, you know, the supportive group of teachers.
Exactly.
This is
also
great.
Shout out to my mum as well, because literally she was it's not just, I know I talked a lot about the teaching as well, but like my mum as well, she was the one who had to learn all about autism from scratch, do all the talks as well, have the coaching from Helen. She had to learn, and then she had to learn how to then support me as a single mum as well, raising a young child who had all these hissy fits about the most minute things. So again, shout out to the parents as well who have to raise their kids with them as well. So
your mum is your number one,
absolutely
number one,
and
biggest fan.
she's gonna watch this today.
Always
so
yeah, definitely. Sarah, right? Your mum.
Sarah,
So
hi mum. And Nana as well, because my nan as well had a big part as well, because she had to, so like mum and nan as well, because my nan had a big part as well in raising me as well when my mum had to work. So so
wow.
That's very inspirational.
It is, isn't it?
Well, that's why I want to do stuff like this now, because I know that if I was to use me as an example as an adult, because again, I like to say I'm on the lower end of the spectrum, because I know I've seen other people on the higher end with more who need more support. But I just know if I can use my case as a general sense that people can compare to when what their child is going through now, hopefully seeing me on the other side of it can just give them that little bit of like insight
as well.
Because I always like to say like it may be challenging now, you may be having stress now, you know, you may have, you know, going through stress, anxiety just with your kids, but what I like to say is, if I can be used as an example and I make a life for myself, then that means there's a bright future for your child, and there's potential for that person. And every day that goes by is a step closer towards that better future. It may not be today, tomorrow, even in a year, but there's potential somewhere along the road. And every day that goes by is a day closer to that potential. So that's how I like to put it.
Well, Andrea has put interesting comment.
My goodness, that's not just for black belt, that is higher consciousness, being self-aware and going through your goals regardless of your pain. And
so I think that's the next lesson. You're very grateful.
Exactly. And, grateful. I'm grateful for martial arts when I can.
I mean, generally, I mean, like, I don't mean that. I mean, like, you shouted out in every single person that's worked with you as a child today. And that's what I mean. It's
but I also like to give a shout out to just like everyone else as well, who's like in the system, who's like supporting someone with autism. So
and obviously I'll just bring it back on the screen. So being aware and going for your goals regardless of pain or discomfort. This is the whole point of one of the points of today's show to get you on is that there's so many things we can learn, and you're massive inspiration. I got to put Nigel's comment up in a minute because we got big up Charlie some more. Let's put it on.
I think I saw it. Am I writing a book?
Yes, he is the thing. We're pushing on. Charlie is doing videos, so please go over to okay, your personal page. They're public now.
I make them public, so Matt shares them as well sometimes, but they're all public, so you can just friend request me. I make them every day. Like I try to make them as entertaining as I can, so I've done videos on when autism was first discovered back in 1943, how it was first coined, the definition, the people who first discovered it. I did a video on the first person ever to be diagnosed with autism, Donald Triplett, who's still alive today, and it's quite fascinating. So, so how the diagnosis process has changed from like the 90s to today, you know. So I've done a whole bunch of but then. Also, I will fair one, I am a geek as well, and I also like to make videos for myself talking about my favorite animes, TV shows, music as well. So I like to sprinkle those in just myself because I just like talking about so I know not everyone will get into it, but if I can't make them for myself, then I can't make them for you. So I just like to make videos for myself. Even if I know no one's really interested in it, I have to make them for myself. So
well, if you're gonna help
And
people,
I
you might as well
like
track
that.
people
Yeah.
you want, right?
Yeah.
You're actually showing
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
the world, different version of yourself.
Yeah,
and
because
people might pick and choose, what they prefer, but
Yeah.
this is who you are as a person.
I'm not gonna deny it. I am a geek. I still listen to the music of Thomas the Tank Engine, and I'm not ashamed of it because I love the music. I still play Sonic games. I still play Pokemon. Because I may be 24, but I'm still an inner child. That sort of
You
thing.
always will be.
Yeah.
Embrace that. Embrace the weird.
I always like
I'll
to
come on to
say,
this in a minute.
yeah, I read that. I always like to say, hanging on to that childlike part of you is what helped me through kind of like the first lockdown, because being locked up.
We had fun online, right?
Yeah, we did. Oh, we had so much fun online. Yeah, absolutely.
Charlie come in like, just after I just woke up now. He's like, I'm doing jacks.
Exactly. But yeah, just hang on to that childlike personality of yourself is very important. So,
Jane, sorry. Jane, we're going to blow your mind with something in a minute. So
love your messages of hope. My oldest son, really struggling in high school. Nice to hear that you have great experiences. I think it's important that every young person has that one person they can trust. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we got something in common, the three of us.
Okay.
Do you know what it is? We're all sat here. No, well, there's that as well. But Charlie is available for public speaking, aren't you, Charlie?
Yes.
Charlie did from what I can gather, a great talk for HIV
with Gemma, who I think is probably watching this. Yeah.
Oh, hi Gemma. Hi Gemma. Which we all, we all did that. But I think, so yeah, I think, and you made some connections with that. So that was just off your. I pushed you forward
a little bit. Well, I didn't know that was a thing until you got me in contact with Gemma, though. That was the thing.
No, so she was looking for speakers. And I pushed you forward. So
exactly.
I think it's I think you're up for stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely.
So if we want Charlie to come and talk, then
exactly,
he's up for it.
Yeah, it's great to think about now, though. It's like I said this earlier to Ange, but it's like if you told me and my family like years ago that I'd be running my own branch at work, single man, doing stuff like this, talking about my autism, martial arts, going up to women to dance, plucking up the courage, that sort of thing. We'd have been like, no, that's not Charlie. That's not it at all, And I said
you went salsa on your own as well, right?
Yeah. Okay. I went the first time I went to salsa with my mum because she's the one who found out about it in the first place. After that, though, I made the active choice to go myself. So
that's still going
yeah, exactly. So
yeah, you've got to make that choice.
You're such inspiration, raising awareness, and shining your light. Thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Respect you have achieved. Thank you, Jane.
I told you we'd blow your mind, Jane. Thank you for tuning in. And look, thank you for all the comments. Please keep. Charlie's going to go back and answer.
Yeah, I'll read them all. I will read them all.
He's got a busy day.
Reading comments. Yes,
reading
exactly.
Comments, and he will answer.
Yeah.
But check out his videos because they are inspiring on his page. And I think I agree. We should get doing your podcast. I keep pushing out Charlie to do a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Get a book done.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, in time. Not yet in time, but that's all for it. Yeah, I will get to that eventually. Yeah.
There's easy ways to do things.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got secret methods for that.
Exactly. Secrets, nice.
So I think I got a lot of take homes from this. I think like gratitude is so important.
Yeah.
Setting your goals and because goals going for right?
Yeah.
It is pain and discomfort, and I think what it's put there is you've done.
And if I was to just put in one more bit of advice, and that is,
go for it.
If you just quickly,
I've learned so much from you every time. It's like I can have them on every week.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to.
And we're good when we need a break, right? You can come and take over.
Okay. But just to make this quick, it's that I've seen firsthand the challenges, but the rewarding aspects of neurodiverse people, and so basically. Once you get a neurodiverse person, an autistic person talking about something, or once they get into a subject that they actively like, it could be trains, stamps, it could be in space, it could be cars, anything. Like when you see their face and just how enthusiastic they talk about it is so uplifting for me. So obviously it'll take time. They might be going through school right now and it might be tough for them. But what I always, because I've seen firsthand, my friend Jack, who's got autism, he goes to gaming tournaments now, and he's won a few tournaments. The company that I work for, we have an autistic person now, you know, and he's been in the company for 5 years, and he's one of our points of call. So yeah, I always say, you know, also the skills that they have as well, like autistic people can be good at, you know, organization, timekeeping. They can be good at problem solving, data collecting, analyzing, observation. There are just so many skills that can be attributed towards different disabilities, and also how useful they can be to other companies. And so, yeah, literally, it could be. I used to have a fascination for trains a little bit, and I know other people do. So literally, you know, once you see them find what they like, don't obviously push them towards it, but just let them gradually get into it. That's what I like to say.
So just like I said, expose them to inspirational stuff or just different things they might be interested in, right?
Exactly.
But when you said disable, right? I would say super able.
Yeah, we had to chat about this earlier.
Super able.
Super able.
Because
that's
you can focus on one thing to the extent that many people can't do.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And that work makes you so good at it because you know it inside out from every possible angle.
Exactly.
So that's superpower.
Exactly. Like, I know some people say disabilities, but it's not. You're just
it's a yin and a yang. There's a white within the black, and there's a black within the white.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But also, you know, exactly yin and yang, like a balance. Everything in life is in balance, even though we sometimes can't see it. So imagine that in order to have this level of ability, right, for example, is attached to autism, maybe you have to, I don't want to use this word, but I'm going to use it because I can't find the right word now. You might be lacking somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, for example, connecting with people.
Not lacking, just potential yet to achieve.
Yes. So it's just like it's a balanced then. It's like a lack here and extensive, you know, just ability on one side. And then later in life, I hope that does make sense.
Yeah.
It balances itself out, you know, and it changes the form.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot, Justin, you're from California.
I never outstanding show. Have a great rest of the day.
Hey, love back, bro.
Oh, hey, we've got a worldwide audience.
Yes, we do. Yes,
nice.
We do.
So kind words. But on that, actually, just we're gonna have to. I think we're gonna finish up in a minute because we'll be going for like hours and hours.
Oh, I could ramble. I've got
no way. You're coming back. So
yeah.
I don't even have to ask hands.
Yeah.
Sold.
Yeah. Just to kind of close out on that, where you said like you were saying about finding people's what they talking about the things they love, and it made me think about my son Murphy.
Yeah.
Murphy's born deaf, and it's different, but in some respects there's the similarities that encouraging people, and this as an instructor, like when people or teachers like encourage, especially with children, to do the thing they love, and work on your strengths, because like before was you got to work on your weaknesses. Work on the strengths, and everything else will come. And I know then with Murphy, he loves programming, and they just go and find something out. I don't want to take the thing away too much, but then he focuses on the bits that he probably wouldn't have focused on. So I think work on those strengths. You've dropped so many bombs there. You have to write them down.
It's funny you mentioned work on your strength. I could ramble on for a good 2 hours about how I was always focusing on my weaknesses.
I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah, it's like honestly,
that's a general trend, isn't it?
Honestly, like I actually had to stop thinking about my negatives. This happened a few years ago, but all the time I was thinking, oh, I just went to this social event. I was talking too loud. I was making, was this joke appropriate? Was this comment appropriate? Like stuff like that all the time. I was thinking about. So I was thinking of so many negatives. I actually had to put a point where I had to stop that and block that bit out so I could start thinking on the positives, because it's funny how we live in a world where I could like see a million positives in someone else, but yet the second they try and pay a compliment to me, I could find a million negatives.
I'll tell you what, that's a big lesson.
It is. It is.
But
it's true though. Like, I bet a lot of people can relate that if one of the people 100%. At home, if someone to pay a compliment to you, you would like knock it down a little bit, and you would find just as equal negatives as compliments, but yet you would pay just as much compliments back to someone else. And we have someone with Australia.
I forgot Nigel's in Australia.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to finish up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all the comments.
Thank you, guys. Thank
Please
you,
share
Charlie.
it. It's an important message. Thank you, Charlie. That was so inspiring. We'll definitely get you back.
Lovely.
Well, thank you wherever you listen and watching from today. All right, we are back next week.
Yeah,
next week.
Episode
I'm so
30.
confused.
Yes,
Yeah.
3-0.
Peace, love, always.
Bye.
Share,
Bye,
share,
guys.
share.
Take care.
10-star review. I think we deserve.
Oh, yes.